one of the major consulting firms in the United States, is now training its future CEOs to use AI in its recruiting process. What that means for you as you look for a job over the next decade. Hello and welcome to another KuLAB. My name is Ku. This is our laboratory for learning. Thank you for joining us for another business news breakdown, where today we take a look at the future of job hunting. We're going to take a look at an article about a worldwide consulting firm and how they're training future CEOs to use AI in their recruiting process. So the next time you go in for a job interview, it's very likely that you might be using AI or demonstrating how to use AI. So let's take a look at the business concepts, take a look at some new vocabulary, and understand this new business world we're all getting ourselves into. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our next KuLAB. As always, I like to give recognition to the authors. So today we're going to take a look at an article by Elshiva Keeson, based out of London. Let's look at the headline here. McKinsey challenges graduates to use AI chatbot in recruitment overhaul. So our word here, overhaul, is when you totally redo something. You change a lot of the components. You change almost everything about a process or a system. And in this case, they're changing their process and their system of recruiting. So the way they've recruited in the past, the way they've asked job applicants to apply to McKinsey, and the way they've trained CEOs to also run their recruitment is all being overhauled. It means it's all changing, and it's changing by asking graduates to use AI chatbots, to demonstrate how they will use AI chatbots. So it could be quite interesting. Candidates in pilot assessed on how they prompted consulting firms' AI assistant and ability to adapt responses. This word prompted is the words and phrases and the questions specifically that you ask AI to get a certain response. So there were a lot of jobs early on in the AI boom, if you will, called prompt engineers. These were people who are specialized in asking the right questions or asking questions in the right way to get a certain response, to maybe get a better response from the AI. And places like McKinsey and other places, other CEOs, will be looking at your ability to prompt AI as a part of the recruiting process. McKinsey is piloting a shakeup in how it recruits its next generation, asking graduate candidates to use an AI assistant to complete tests designed to reflect consultants' new ways of working. So let's look at the phrase shakeup. Shakeup is similar to an overhaul. It just means to move it around, to change the process a lot, usually in a dramatic way. So when you shake up something, you're changing it in a way that you hope is better. So sometimes if a process gets stale or if a process is not working or something isn't working right, you might do a shakeup and see what happens next, hopefully for the better. What this paragraph is essentially saying to us is that McKinsey is a very large international consulting firm. A lot of the CEOs of major companies like Google and Yahoo and a couple of others all have come from McKinsey. So these people who hire and recruit thousands of people, they're learning this sort of technology, or they're learning how to recruit this way starting this year. So in 10, 15 years, the candidates who recruited this way or the candidates who hired this way are going to be the CEOs using a similar system to hire other people. Candidates that were part of the pilot were asked to use the chatbot during one of their interviews to replicate how the firm expects its consultants to work as the technology transforms office jobs. So here the word pilot is one of our vocabulary words. A pilot program is a test program. It's sort of a smaller scale program or smaller scale sample just to see how it works, to make sure that you get the results that you want. So you won't test this on everyone. You'll just take a small section of maybe a dozen, 2 dozen people, and you will test this system. It's called a pilot program. The word replicate here means to do it in the same way. So to produce a copy that's exactly the same. So in this case, they're replicating what they asked their actual consultants to do in the interview process. So right now, McKinsey is asking their consultants to use AI to help solve some problems. They're going to ask the job applicants to also do this, to replicate what it might feel like to be an actual consultant. So in this case, replication means to do something exactly the same way as something else, to replicate it, to make an exact copy. So let's take a look at what they're actually doing with the AI chatbot. The candidates use Lily to help analyze a case study and refine their conclusion, one person said. The interview tested how applicants prompted Lily and whether they had the curiosity and judgment to take stuff that Lily spits out and work with it, challenge it, put it into context of the client's specific requirements, they added. Okay, so this is an interesting paragraph. This is how they're using the AI chatbot. In this case, Lily is the name of the AI chatbot. There's lots of names, Grok, ChatGPT. McKinsey's name, their AI chatbot is named Lily. Now, a key vocabulary word here is to refine. So to refine is to take something that isn't quite ready to be a final product and to shape it in some way, to change it in some way, to make it into a final product. So in this case, it's going to take information that this AI chatbot spits out, and it's going to ask the applicants to refine it, to change it, to modify it in some way, to refine it so that there can be some sort of final conclusion. Again, our word prompted here. The interview tested how the applicants prompted Lily. So they're taking a look at how applicants asked the question, what words they used to get a response from Lily. How did they phrase the question? What kinds of questions did they ask? They're looking at that because that's really important in terms of getting a response from the AI. They're looking for things like curiosity and judgment. So these are things that AI typically have difficulty with. So they rely on the humans to be curious, to ask more interesting questions, to ask different types of questions, to show judgment of whether or not the stuff that comes out of the AI, whether that's useful or true. We all know that some of our AI chatbots make a lot of mistakes. So we have to judge whether or not this information is correct. So the applicants, their skill set was curiosity and judgment. Another vocabulary word here, spits out. Spits out is sort of a casual slang term for output. So almost like it just kind of spits it out very quickly. So it comes out of your mouth very quickly. In this case, the AI chatbot gives you an answer very quickly. So it sort of spits out the answer. So essentially, McKinsey is asking its applicants to prompt this AI chatbot, refine using their own curiosity and judgment, and then creating a final product that you could possibly give to a client that meets their specific requirements. So as part of the interview process, you're going through the same thing that their consultants might go through. The move underlines how AI-driven disruption is reaching even one of the world's most competitive recruitment processes. At a firm that has long been a training ground for chief executives, including Alphabet's Sundar Pichai, Citigroup's Jane Fraser, and Lloyd's Banking Group's Charlie Nunn. So what this is saying is a lot of the businesses, a lot of the CEOs of major corporations have come through McKinsey or have trained at McKinsey. And so this is one of those things where, in 10, 12, 15 years from now, maybe some of the applicants right now might be CEOs or part of major corporations using this same sort of AI technology or the same sort of recruiting process. McKinsey has also changed multiple biases in its recruitment process to adapt to the skills it needs in the AI age, and will prioritize candidates who learn from failure, Sternsfield said. Candidates with liberal arts degrees might have been deprioritized in the past, but they have more truly novel ways of thinking that will complement some AI models' inability to make discontinuous leaps in logic, Sternsfield added. Okay, so this is really interesting. This talks about what skill sets might be useful when you apply for jobs in the future. So let's break these paragraphs down. McKinsey has changed multiple biases. So the word biases means what they are looking for. A bias is something you are focused on, or something that you believe to be true, or that you put a lot more effort into. In this case, they are biased towards certain things. It means they are looking for certain skills, they are looking for certain degrees, they are looking for certain subjects that you studied in school. But this paragraph is saying they're changing those biases. They're looking for different skills. They're looking for new ways of thinking. And it will prioritize candidates who learn from failure. So this won't be someone who always gets the answer right. They're looking for people who have skill sets that are adaptable, people who adapt more often, people who can learn from failure, people who don't get discouraged when they get something wrong. So these types of skill sets will be a priority as you're working with an AI chatbot. Candidates with liberal arts degrees. So liberal arts degrees were things like literature and history, things of that nature, sociology, psychology. So these types of degrees are actually becoming really valuable because the AI can do a lot of the calculation. It can do a lot of the scientific stuff. The AI chatbot can't really be curious or show judgment. Things like lateral thinking, thinking about things in a different way, is something that liberal arts degrees sort of prioritize. So those types of degrees might actually be incredibly useful or incredibly valuable in 10 or 15 years. They might have deprioritized. So deprioritized means it's not a priority anymore. Prefix de means not or without. So in this case, not prioritized. So in the past, if you had a liberal arts degree, it might have been difficult to find a job, especially at some of these consulting and tech firms, because they were looking for people with computer science degrees or degrees that were in science fields or engineering fields. Liberal arts degrees were deprioritized in the past. They have a truly novel way of thinking. So novel is a word that means new. So when you think in a new way, or something is new or brand new to you, we say that thing is a novel. So people who can think in interesting ways, people who don't just use formulas every day, but consider things, have critical thinking skills, these types of things will be very, very valuable in the future. Complement some AI models' inability to make discontinuous leaps. Discontinuous means not continuous. So step A, step B, step C. It's sometimes hard for a chatbot to go from step A to step C, maybe to step J. So it can't make those leaps without a clear process. But humans can. Humans can see something and they can think, oh, what if this worked with this part over here? What if step A worked with step G? So we can make those kinds of leaps, or certain people can. So those again become very valuable skill sets because AI has a really difficult time making those types of leaps, understanding the connections between things that are not obviously process oriented. So having skills that complement the AI will be very important for people looking for a job in the next 10 to 15 years. Okay, thank you for joining us for another business news breakdown. Today we looked at that article about how these companies are going to be using AI as part of their recruitment process in the future. We took a look at some of the skill sets that might be very valuable moving in the next few years, 10 years, 15 years. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy these kind of business news breakdowns. If you do, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps us out. Leave a comment. What do you think will be the future of recruiting in 10 years? How do you think recruiting or looking for a job are going to change with AI chatbots? So thanks again. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next KuLAB.